Alright everybody, it's time for another episode of Let's Argue, where I take on all your hot takes, unpopular opinions, and difficult questions about anime. Yeah, there's already other people doing this, but you know what? I'm better. The culture of constantly keeping up with every popular show every season is bad for your enjoyment of the medium. Hard agree. I definitely think that there are people who fall off with anime because they're trying too hard to watch current shit and to be a part of like whatever everyone's talking about without realizing that so many of the people who are watching seasonal shows or are getting hype about it tend to be newer. They tend to be people who are just getting on board, who want to participate in the culture, who maybe haven't seen as many shows and are more easily entertained by stuff that is more broadly focused. And the most broad-reaching show is always going to be the most popular because there are hardcore fans who might like it and, you know, people who haven't seen as much who are definitely going to be more inclined to check out something that more obviously appeals to them. So if you say get into anime because you like action, which is a very common action and fantasy, like it's a great medium for those two genres, especially because you don't get great action fantasy shows in the West, really. So if you get into anime because you want to see like these somewhat edgier, more violent fantasy action shows, then whichever ones of those have the most hype surrounding them are most likely going to be the targets for your consumption. And so you're going to get like a huge amount of especially young people getting excited about these shows, and the people who spend the most time on the internet are those young people. The people who are going to be most participating in discussions, who are going to be most excited to be online all the time discussing the current shows and watching as much of the current season as possible. There's a category of person who has the time for that, and it's usually students, people who are, filling a lot of their excess time, especially if they're lonely people who don't have a lot of friends or a lot of social activities going on, who are going to spend more time online discussing these shows. And so when you, especially as an older or more jaded anime fan, find yourself feeling the need to continue participating in that system, you will slowly start to feel like, man, everybody just likes the same old shit every time. I don't understand how, all these people can still be down for every new isekai anime, but it's like, it's not the same people. It's new young people. It's, most anime fans have a shelf life of about 2 years. Most anime fans will get in, they will get jaded, and they'll get out, unless they become someone who deep dives and tries to find more classics and tries to participate in that way. But when you reach a certain point where if anime was more of a social thing for you, if it was more of a way to have a means to talk to other people online, then you might not really have any reason to continue with it at that point. Like, if you're not interested in it purely as an artistic medium that you personally care about, then you really don't have a reason to stay interested. So I think that it's kind of natural that anime fans will come in and out in cycles, that the broad shows will always be the most popular and the most discussed. And I just think that there are too many people who aren't really recognizing that they don't have to consume anime that way in order to continue being a fan of it. And even if you do really value the discussion, you can find people who are discussing more interesting shows, but you kind of need to first know that that stuff exists and to sort of have an in to even appreciating that kind of shit. Because, speaking for me personally as somebody who got into anime through, Toonami and Adult Swim and internet forums, most of anime history I didn't know about until I had been an anime fan for 5 or 6 years. I had been deep into it for a long time before I found out about how important is Gundam, or how I didn't even know about World Masterpiece Theater and Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata's influence, the depth of what they had done until the last 5 years. And I've been watching anime since 2001. So it's unless you happen to have information cross in front of you that, informs you of these greater depths you can go to, because the information is not that accessible, it's not really being pushed in your face in the way that current shows are, you're not going to find out about these greater depths you can go to. And I think that's why it's so important for any tubers to exist who are trying to bridge that gap. And I really respect even guys like The Anime Man, who does a show similar to mine, who will pay, lip service to those older shows, who clearly has an understanding of anime history, and, you know, even if he is appealing to a broader base, he's still, like, making sure that people know that there is more to this, and there's more to investigate, and I think that, you know, there's some responsibility on the part of us anime YouTubers to continue to promote that so that we can keep people invested and involved for our own sakes, so that anime can keep being made and keep being good, and the more anime literate people are, the more, you know, the tendency of their viewing habits will swing in a direction that is helpful for us. Disregarding anime as art and watching purely for entertainment is a valid way to consume it. I agree. I mean, there's no invalid way to consume anime. You can just do it however the fuck you want. Do I have to respect you and your decision? Absolutely not. People that refuse to watch anime that has an all-female cast are missing out. Absolutely. And I think that the number of those people in the community is diminishing, or that opinion is becoming more unpopular. Like, back when I was really getting into the community in the late 2000s, there was very much a fjord between the moe people and the manly people, like the ones who thought that, you know, cute girls were killing anime. And I understand that anime is very much an aesthetic medium. There's not really much reason to choose anime as your medium of choice unless you are just interested in, like, watching TV shows with long, involving narratives, which is one great thing that, you know, anime has always done well. But, like, also just if you were into it because it does these certain genres, like sci-fi and, like, super manly, violent action shows, and you haven't been getting as much of those, like, I understand losing interest in the medium at that point. But if you are somebody who just wants to watch things that are good, it's not just about a specific aesthetic that appeals to you, you just want to see things that are of quality, and you're skipping out on cute girl shows, you are missing out hardcore. K-On!, as good as it was, dumbed down much of the anime landscape for years to come. I really don't know what you mean by this. What did it do to dumb anything down? If anything, I think that between Kyoto Animation's work in the late 2000s, they really raised the bar heavily for anime, where you know, those types of shows existed. There was plenty of it before that point, but they were not nearly as good. And I think that they made it so people were willing to accept a, you know, like, they were less willing to accept a lower standard for cute girl shows and moe shows. It became that, like, we expect a certain level of characterization and production quality. And granted, I do think that there are shows that were able to ride on the coattails of the success of those shows and put in less effort and, you know, attract people who just wanted something similar. But I think that the fact that we can even get so many good shows in those genres is largely attributable to the fact that those shows put in so much effort to go above and beyond the Call of Duty. Subscribing to Crunchyroll does nothing to alleviate workplace violations, labor shortage, etc. in the anime industry. Fighting income inequality by forming unions and worker ownership does fix those issues even better than charity ever could. DM me for more. Well, yeah, obviously. But more than that, I think that we just need to recognize that anime is a medium that doesn't really make sense as a job. It's not really something that I think is advisable to get into, to, like, you know, pursue as a career path. I think that the reason people do it is because they're passionate about it. They're people who care about anime, they want to work on anime, they want to draw for a living, and, you know, this is something that maybe they've always dreamed of, or that they admire, you know, other animators and they want to be like them. But you have to appreciate that anime is not profitable enough for it to be able to, you know, really give you the lifestyle that you're looking for unless you are really talented. So when I think of, like, a group like Kyoto Animation, and everybody says how, like, their scheduling is so much better, and they, you know, they don't overwork their employees, they make it so they have a more comfortable working environment, you know, like, people are just able to work better. But it's not just because of that their shows are good. It's because the people who they have are good. They have great animators. They have great talent at their studio. And not everybody has that talent. Not everybody has that skill. Everybody has to kind of work their way up from somewhere and start somewhere. And granted, we could be training new people better, but I also think there would have to be a system of just vetting more people. That, like, we don't need as many people making bad shows. We don't need people who can't reach the level of quality, that their show can have the level of spread, that it can make the amount of money that will not necessitate you to put out 17 shows in a year to keep your studio afloat, So, and I'm not saying that this is the only reason things are bad. I'm just saying that, like, I think it's unaddressed when people talk about these issues. Everybody likes to talk about how bad the working conditions are without really addressing how it's not really a good job choice in the first place, unless you are legitimately good at it. Agretsuko was the most relatable anime of 2018 by a country mile. We need more anime focusing on adult life with all of its pressures, jobs, the overall social structures, etc. To which Iroboke said, I wouldn't call this a hot take. I wouldn't either. The show is extremely popular and successful. But yeah, I agree. But at the same time, I do think that I don't think I was as impressed with Agretsuko as some other people were, just because of the fact that I feel like there are a lot of workplace dramas that come out of Japan that are all kind of the same. Like, if you've seen Hataraki Man, then Agretsuko isn't that unique. I think it's better, but like, I don't know if we need there to constantly be shows like this on TV when, like, dealing with that reality, like, the reason we don't have more stuff about it is that it's the same experience for almost everybody. So, like, in many ways, Agretsuko is enough for now, but I do think, if there are people who can find ways to explore these concepts in really unique and different ways, then it would be worthwhile. But, like, I don't think we need another show that's just telling the same story as Agretsuko again. Revolutionary Girl Utena is the most gorgeous, aesthetically TV series of all time, maybe. It's up there. It's one of the most aesthetically interesting. I mean, obviously the visual flair of it is just, like, totally on another level from most shows. I don't think it has the consistency, especially in animation quality, that I would hope for from a show that I was going to call the best looking anime aesthetically. I'm a big fan of the look of, like, Kashurn Sins. I think Kill La Kill is really beautiful, and anything Imaishi has done, basically, it would deserve to be in the ranking. Cowboy Bebop. Like, these are shows that might not do as diverse of things visually, but, like, consistently every image is gorgeous. Still, though, Utena deserves to be in the running, no question. Alright, that's it for this episode of Let's Argue. Follow me on Twitter if you want to, be a part of the next one that whenever it goes up. I've recorded like 6 of these in a row, so it'll be a while before I post the next tweet, but that's where you'll be able to react. And also, if you want more Digibro content, there's an endless sea of it in the every video featuring Digibro playlist, because I have a lot of channels that I appear on, and I do all kinds of shit. I'm constantly talking. I never shut my fucking mouth. My voice somehow doesn't go hoarse in spite of hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Anyway, go watch all that shit. See you next time.